Before the dreaming. Chapter 7. Into the dreaming. The golden thread widened as they walked, stretching into a corridor of light. It was no longer a single strand, but a woven path that was shimmering beneath their feet. It seemed to be carrying them forward through shifting patterns of the dreaming. All around them, fragments drifted. Some were broken moments or unfinished places. Some were echoes of things that might have been, a staircase leading nowhere. A tree with roots sinking into a sky of molten glass. The laughter of children that was cut short by silence. Kel's stomach tightened. "It feels wrong," he murmured. "Like everything's waiting for us to decide if it stays or fades." "That's the weaving," Myra whispered. Her eyes were fixed on the fragments, seeing each one glowing faintly, hungry to be chosen. "We don't just walk through the dreaming, we shape what survives." A low hum trembled through the air. Threads writhed ahead of them. They were tangling into a knot of pulsing light. The corridor ended at the snarl that was glowing with a dangerous intensity. Kale stepped closer, his heart pounding. The knot wasn't just threads, it was memories. He could feel them pressing against his mind as thousands of voices clamoring for release. A battlefield blurred with smoke. A cradle rocking in an empty room. Hands raised in farewell. Mira gasped. She gripping his arm. "It's a convergence. Too many threads pulled together without being chosen. If we leave it, it'll collapse and take us with it." The figure's words returned to him. "To walk deeper, you must learn to weave." Kyle clenched his fists. "So we pick what lives and what's forgotten." The knot shivered, its threads flickering wildly, as though it had hurt him. Images surged, a child's face, a ship caught in storm, the whisper of a name he almost recognized. Mira shook her head, eyes blazing. "Not just pick. We have to weave them together. Balance them, so none are destroyed." The knot pulsed harder, its glow intensifying into a painful brilliance. Time was running thin. Kyle met her gaze, and for a moment the world went still. "Then we weave," he said. Together, they reached toward the snarled threads. At once, the memories poured into them. They were blinding, endless, and demanding. Kale staggered, but Mira's grip held him firm. Their minds moved as one, their fingers brushing through light, pulling fragments together. A lullaby merged with the roar of the sea. A soldier's farewell folded into a child's first step. Broken images found resonance, weaving into a pattern neither of them fully understood but felt. The knot softened, untangling beneath their touch. Threads aligned, glowing brighter, until the chaos transformed into a single tapestry of gold and silver light. The corridor reformed, steady beneath their feet. The dreaming seemed to sigh with relief. Kyle collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. "That was more than I thought possible." Mira's hand lingered on his shoulder, her own face pale but shining. "It was only possible because we did it together." Ahead, the golden path stretched on, brighter now, leading into deeper mysteries. Behind them, the figure's voice echoed faintly, though no form appeared. "You have begun the weaving. But remember, every choice leaves an echo." Before the dreaming. Chapter 8. Echoes in the tapestry. The corridor pulsed with new life after the weaving. The golden path beneath their feet shimmered. It was steadier now, yet humming faintly with the fragments they had bound together. Kale walked in silence, still shaken by the flood of memories. The soldier's farewell, the child's laughter, the storm at sea, they hadn't vanished. He could feel them inside him, woven into the thread of his own being. Mira brushed her fingers along the air beside them, where faint after-images trailed like smoke. "Look," she whispered. The fragments hadn't dissolved completely. Echoes shimmered at the edges of the path, translucent visions flickering in and out of shape. A boy chasing a wooden hoop. A mother cradling an infant. A ship cresting a wave that broke into nothing. Kel's chest tightened. "They're alive." "Echoes," Mira murmured. "Shadows of what we wove together. Not whole, but not lost either." One of the visions turned its head, and for a heartbeat Kale swore the boy's eyes met his. Wide, searching, almost grateful. Then the image unraveled into threads of light, drifting upward into the lattice. Kyle staggered. "They see us. They remember," Mira said softly, though her voice trembled. And maybe they expect something. The air shifted. A low vibration coursed through the dreaming, as though their weaving had drawn attention. Ahead, the golden path fractured, splitting into 3 threads of light that stretched into different horizons. One glowed steady, silver-tinted, resonating with calm. Another flickered with restless fire, unstable but calling. The third was darker, its light veiled, pulsing faintly as though alive with secrets. Kale swallowed. It wants us to choose again. Before Mira could reply, a ripple surged behind them. The echoes they had created stirred, rising from the edges of the path, drawn toward the forks ahead. The boy, the mother, the soldier, the storm, they drifted forward, each pulled toward a different path. Kel's heart raced. The echoes are guiding us. Myra frowned, watching. Or warning us, she replied. They stood at the crossroads of light, echoes dissolving into the threads before them. Each choice hummed with weight, as if the dreaming itself leaned in to listen. Kale glanced at Mira, his voice low. If every weaving leaves an echo, then every step will carry consequences. Her fingers tightened around his. Then we need to be certain. Because whatever we choose now. She nodded, toward the glowing forks, where the echoes bled into the paths. We'll decide what part of them survives. The dreaming pulsed once, a soundless heartbeat. The golden thread behind them flickered, urging them onward. Ahead, the 3 paths shimmered, waiting. Before the dreaming. Chapter 9. The Fork of Threads. The 3 paths shimmered, each singing with its own resonance. The silver glow rang like a bell, submerged in deep water, endless and patient. The fiery strands spat sparks that scorched the air, promising movement, risk, and revelation. The veiled thread pulsed like a hidden heartbeat, its light dim but steady, drawing Kel's gaze again and again, though it made his stomach knot. Myra studied them, her brow furrowed. It isn't just a choice of direction. It's a choice of tone, a way of walking. Kale nodded, though his throat was tight. The echoes drifted forward, dissolving one by one into the strands. The laughing boy melted into the silver. The storm scattered into fire. The soldiers bowed, head sank into shadow. Each vision seemed to find its home, claimed by the path that called it. Kyle's hand shook as he pointed. They belong to them, to those strands. Or the strands are claiming them, Mira murmured. The lattice above quivered, like a web touched by something vast. Kyle felt eyes in awareness pressed against his skin. The dreaming was watching. The silver strand swelled with serenity, pulling at his chest, a promise of clarity. The fire burned in his veins, daring him to leap. The shadowed thread whispered, "You will not return the same." Kale turned to Mira. "How do we decide?" Her gaze was steady, though her voice trembled. Not with fear, and not with longing. "We listen." Together they closed their eyes. The hum of the silver strand filled Kel's lungs, cool and clean, a place of reflection. The fire crackled in his veins, tempting him with motion, destruction, and renewal. And the shadowed thread, it seeped deeper, showing him glimpses of faces he hadn't known he carried, ancestors, forgotten voices. The possibility of truths he might not want, but could never unlearn. Kale opened his eyes first. The silver feels safe, but maybe too safe. Like we'd lose ourselves in calm. Myra's lips parted. The fire is dangerous. It wants to burn through us. I don't know if we'd come back. And the dark, he asked. She hesitated, then met his gaze. It feels like it knows us already. The dreaming pulsed again, that silent heartbeat echoing in their bones. The threads brightened, demanding a choice. Kale reached for her hand. Whatever path we take, we walk it together. Her grip was fierce. Always. The echoes swirled once more, drifting like leaves toward the threads. The boy's laughter echoed faintly in the silver. The storm cracked in the fire. The soldier's shadow bowed in the dark. Kyle exhaled. Then we follow the path they chose flared, consuming their vision, pulling them forward into its current. Before the dreaming. Chapter 10. The Mirror of Quiet. At first, there was only stillness. Kale blinked, expecting light, color, or voices. But instead the dreaming pressed inward like a hushed cathedral. The air itself felt thick, laden with a silence that was not empty, but watching. His breath stirred faint ripples that drifted outward, vanishing into endless pale light. Myra's hand slipped into his. It's quiet. Too quiet, Cale murmured, though he wasn't sure if the words belonged to fear or reverence. Shapes emerged slowly, as though carved from mist, tall planes of shimmering glass, suspended in the air. They weren't solid mirrors, but surfaces alive with shifting colors, bending and flowing like liquid silver. As the pair moved, reflections gathered. Cal's own face blinked back at him. Not one but dozens, each caught in a slightly different moment. One frowned, another smiled faintly. One bore a scar he had never known. Another looked far older, weathered, tired. He staggered. These aren't just reflections. They're possibilities, Mira whispered, gazing at her own shifting selves. One looked younger, untouched by sorrow. Another's eyes were hard, distant, almost cruel. What we were, what we could be, what we fear becoming. The silver surfaces rippled at her words, as if acknowledging them. Their reflections stepped closer, pressing against the glass from the other side. Not hostile, but heavy, insistent, demanding to be seen. Cale swallowed hard. A thought tugged at him, unbidden. To walk further, we must face them. One mirror flared brighter, and his reflection within it lifted a hand, pressing palm to glass. Cale's own hand tingled, drawn upward. The air hummed, resonant, waiting. Mira's voice trembled. If we touch them, we let them in, Cale finished. His chest tightened. But maybe that's the lesson. Not to fight the echoes. To weave them into us. The silver corridor around them shifted, threads of light folding inward. With each step forward, the reflections grew clearer, closer, until the path ahead was nothing but an endless hall of their own possible selves. And from somewhere deep within the lattice, a whisper rose like a current through the stillness. Know thyself, or be unmade. Cale's hand hovered above the mirror, fingers tingling with energy. The reflection that pressed back was not entirely him. Older, younger, joyful, haunted, yet every flicker felt like a truth he had denied. Myra's gaze darted across the mirrored surfaces, trembling. There, us stop, but not just us. Every possibility, Cale said softly. Every choice we didn't make, every fear we ran from. The corridor pulsed, as if responding to his words. One reflection stepped forward, mirroring his hesitation perfectly. Its eyes bored into his, silent but insistent. Do you acknowledge me, or turn away? Cale felt a surge of panic. He could retreat, deny what he saw, ignore the reflections, and rush forward. That would be easiest. But every fiber of the lattice thrummed with warning. Resistance will fracture you. He swallowed, drawing a slow, steadying breath. We face them, he whispered. Myra nodded, squeezing his hand. Together, they stepped closer. Cale touched the glass and the surface rippled like water beneath his fingers. His reflection shivered, then opened its mouth to speak, though no sound came. Images and sensations flashed inside him. Fear he had never named, grief he had buried, courage he had forgotten. Mira mirrored him, reaching out. The reflection beside her shimmered, dissolving fragments of shame and doubt into threads of light that wove into the silver corridor. The more they accepted, the stronger the path became. Shadows of past mistakes, missed opportunities, and unspoken truths folded into the lattice. But they no longer pressed against them. They flowed around, part of the current rather than a weight to bear. Kyle exhaled, heart pounding. It's not just showing us, it's letting us hold it. A pulse ran through the mirrors, soft but undeniable. The dreaming whispered again. Acknowledgement is the first step toward weaving. The corridor brightened, the silver threads coalescing into a smoother path forward. The reflections settled into their surfaces, serene rather than accusing. Kyle and Mira could move now without hesitation, carrying the echoes with them, stronger for having accepted them rather than resisted. Ahead, a flicker of warmer light suggested the path would soon change again. Perhaps fire, perhaps shadow. But the lesson of the silver path was clear. Perception shaped reality, and acknowledgement wove the world together.